What's up, YouTube? What's up, YouTube? It's your boy back with another one. People, in today's video, we are going to discuss whether the ANC is actually practicing reverse apartheid or not. Let me know what you think about this topic in the comment section below. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. You know we family, right? Holla! People, people. Today's topic is a simple topic, right? But it's actually a difficult topic because people are saying that the South African government, particularly the ANC, is practicing what they call reverse apartheid. Now, for those who don't know, apartheid was obviously a crime against humanity because of the nature of which the apartheid government of South Africa conducted its business on the day, excluding black people and people of color from participating in the mainstream economy, right? And segregation in places. Well, we all know it's like the Jim Crow era of America, right? So if we know that and we saying apartheid was bad, who kept voting the National Party into power for like 40 years? Or was it 41 years? The very people who kept voting the National Party into power are now the very people who are claiming that the ANC government or the ANC-led government is now practicing reverse apartheid. So if you voted the National Party into power and kept voting them into power, it means you were for apartheid, which is the majority of the white people at the time. Remember, black people and colored people and Indian people couldn't vote. So who was doing all the voting? The white people. So they kept the National Party in power because there were other white parties, but they didn't vote them into power, did they? No. Hmm. Hmm. Is it any wonder why that now it's those same very people that voted the National Party into power or kept them in power all these years are now the very people who are crying foul? Why would you cry foul for a system that you voted for that discriminated against other people? But now, when that system is applied to you, or that perceived system is applied to you, now you cry foul. How does that work? It's like I always give an example of the Israelis with the Palestinians, right? Because that's living proof of what most people nowadays didn't get to see during apartheid. So here's an example, right? Israel will shoot a Palestinian child in the head, in the leg, anywhere. Or Israel will shoot an elderly Palestinian woman or man in the head, kill him dead. And if the Palestinians decide to revolt, protest, and throw stones, they meet with a hail of bullets. Okay, the world says nothing, right? It's okay because I think that it's whites killing non-whites. So that's why the world doesn't say anything. But the minute that it's non-whites killing white people, then the world has a lot to say about it, which is unfair, which is unjust. And an American lawmaker, or politician, should I say, came out and said something to the effect of the ICC was created to prosecute African leaders and people like Putin. The International Court was created for African leaders and people like Putin. Okay, we get the picture, right? We get the picture. You see, apartheid was created to protect white interests and to further advance white people at the expense of other people. Okay, so if the ANC is practicing reverse apartheid, where did they get it from? Where did they learn it from? Who did they learn it from? Where did they see it? Where did they experience it? So it's called skills transfer for those that don't know, or for those that want to protest about reverse apartheid. That's if it actually exists. Does reverse apartheid actually exist? No, it doesn't. You see, what I've what my research shows me is that whenever the word previously disadvantaged or minority mm, or excluded, previously excluded, is ever put into law, or it becomes reverse apartheid. You see, my research shows me that a lot of white people do not want equality because equality equals racism to them. You see, a lot of white people put themselves on a pedestal that they themselves created. No one else created a pedestal for them, they created it, and then they forced it down other people's throats. Now, is a white person better than any other person? No. Is a white person richer than any other person? Yes. How? Of course, there are white people that are poor, that worked hard, got to the levels they are. True. But there's also a lot of white people who gained from a system that was specifically built for them to gain at the expense of other races. That we cannot deny. So, if you live in a system that predominantly caters to one specific race group at the expense of other race groups, what do we call that? Now, let's say when the tables are turned and when another group gets into power and they apply that same system, then it becomes a problem. I mean, South Africa is not practicing reverse racism in any way, shape, or form. But the people that are highly affected by it feel that's the way. So for 42 years, you telling me no black people or people of color could have managerial positions in most companies. Most black people couldn't even afford to have businesses competing with white. Couldn't happen. If you are black and you had a business, you had to you had to you had to compete amongst yourselves. That was fine. They're not saying you couldn't have businesses. I mean, Black Like Me was created in apartheid times. There's a lot of black businesses that were created in apartheid. I mean, even um, Casey Chiefs, soccer clubs, they were created during apartheid times. So it's not like you were not allowed to have businesses. You were just not allowed to be in certain sectors competing with white businesses. You were certainly excluded from that. That's why you had the black soccer leagues. So you could have a black soccer club. That's why you had black this. You could compete in black pageants. You had black that. You just didn't have. You understand what I mean? It's not like where the Palestinians are totally being annihilated in Israeli culture. It's slightly different. That it's not exactly the same thing, but it's kind of like in the same box, right? So today, white people are crying foul because now the system is against them. Dude, you've been eating, as they say in black slang, you've been eating for 40 years. So if you didn't take or eat for that 40 years, then you have a problem, don't you think? I mean, look at it now. Now that black people are in power, not all black people are eating. So I'm not saying that all white people were supposed to eat, but I'm looking at the sheer number of black people that are supposed to be eating now. It's practically impossible for every single black person to be eating because it's just too many. But during apartheid times, I'm sure the government could have catered for each and every white person if they wanted to because they had the money, they had the backing, they had everything they needed. I mean, it was practically against the law for a white person to be seen doing black things. So, in that regard, I can't fathom why, if you were fully for the National Party, didn't amass wealth given the opportunities that the government presented to you, unless you were fighting on the side of the black people and they excluded you, then that is totally understandable. But if you were racist and you supported the National Party and they knew that you supported them and they afforded you all the opportunities and all the job requirements and all the high salaries that came with voting for them, and you didn't amass wealth as a white person, then there's something wrong. Because I know black policemen who benefited from being policemen in the apartheid times because at the time when Eugene Decon was arrested, they paid him out, I think something like million, a million rand, over a million rand, or just under 2 million rand. And the black police corps, they were given something like 400,000 to 500,000. And they said they were given a lot of money. And they were called Askaris. And they were given, so if a black man could have made 400, 500,000 at that time as a policeman, I'm sure you, as a white person who had the opportunity to go and get a trade and do all that, and you didn't because you thought apartheid was going to last forever, and now you seem to be suffering, I don't think you played your cards well, given the opportunities that you had, but you didn't take them because you thought everything was going well. Everything was going to remain the same as it was. Because a lot of previously white run colonized countries, the white people actually said something to the effect of no black man will ever rule this country in the next million, thousand years, or something to that effect. And white people believed it. And then in less than 50 years, the country was taken over. Or sometimes even less than 20 years, the black man took over. So is it fair to say that South African government is practicing reverse racism? No, it's not fair. Because we need to, or they need to, balance, redress the imbalances of the past. So how do we expect them to do that if they do not implement things like BEE, employment equity, and all these other initiatives they have going, which white people are now complaining that it is unfair to them because it's discriminatory to them. So for 40 years, it was okay to discriminate against black people. But now it's not okay for black people to discriminate against white people. Is that what you're telling me? Now, I don't want to debate the whole BEE thing and the whole employment equity thing because a lot of people are going to say it's unfair because now they only want to hire. Dude, for 40 years, you didn't hire black people. Black people were only allowed to be in certain positions. Now they're reserving certain positions for black people because white people were excluded. So, according to according to the available data and the research, white people benefited for 40 years from a system that was created for them. So for 40 years, if you did not find your nest egg, what were you doing? What were you doing? That's my whole point. It's like now that the blacks have taken over, right? People are going to ask questions like, when the ANC took over, what were you guys doing? Because the ANC is trying to create these opportunities and people are not taking them, right? It's like, guys, go and register a business and then you can apply for a tender. Now, we're not saying you're going to get the tender, but at least avail yourself. Get the right steps by people are not even doing that just to register business. They're not. Then they're giving you free Wi-Fi. Guys, register online businesses. Try this. That you're not even doing. Guys, there's free clinics, there's free healthcare, eh, even the free medication is becoming an issue. Guys, there's free education or education at low cost. You- you're not taking those opportunities. I'm just saying. It's not like things are going to remain the way they are forever. Things are going to change. So take advantage of what you have at the moment. That's my whole point. So I don't know if it's making sense or not making sense. All I'm simply saying is for 40 years, there was an opportunity for you as a white person to gain from the system and to make the most of it. But you didn't because you thought it was going to live forever. Now the roles are reversed. And always remember that you were far less in numbers. That means the government of the day could have catered to you or catered for you. Whereas now, even though the roles are reversed, there's way too many black people for the government to cater to each and everyone. But for the very few, the lucky few that know how to grab opportunities by registering businesses, by following all the documentation, by having everything in place, if they are gaining because they're following and adhering to what the government is saying, guys, it's an opportunity for you to get 200,000, 500,000, a million, then 200 million rand. Here's a 10th opportunity. This is how you get it. Register businesses, and this is how you go. And you still don't do it, then there's something wrong with you. If that is your line of work, like I'm saying, there's online opportunities now. Government is giving out 6 gigs a day, free a month, 6 gigs free month for you to register an online business and run an online business. If you don't have Wi-Fi at your house, you can go to free Wi-Fi hotspots. They may not be the fastest, or they may not be the best Wi-Fi on the market. But the mere fact that you have online access, that says a lot, doesn't it? So if you don't take advantage of the free Wi-Fi that you get in, because you think maybe registering a business, a physical business, is like a whole mission, then you're saying the free Wi-Fi just to register an online business is also a mission. Then what are we doing? Who are we going to blame? 10, 20, 30 years down the line, who are we going to blame when the free Wi-Fi is no longer available? Get what I'm saying? Now that things are cheap or cheaper now, you're not taking advantage of them now. You're going to wait 50 years and then blame someone when the things are sky high. I mean, come on. Let's just say a passport is what? 500 rand to get a passport. An ID is, let's just say 200 rand to get a smart ID now. We're not getting it because, no, we think it's still too high. So 10, 20 years now, when the ID is now 1.5, 2,000 rand to get one, what are we going to be saying now? If it's 200 rand or 300 rand or 500 rand, if it's that's the price now, what are we going to be saying 20, 30, 40 years down the line when the prices are now sky high? That's just my point. So, do you believe that South African government is practicing reverse racism? My answer is no. What is your answer? Next, we get into the pros. If there's any pros, you know how we do. Holla. People, how can we define what is reverse racism or reverse apartheid? Because if we look at the characteristics of what apartheid was, the current government is nowhere near close to practicing any of that. Now, people must say discrimination based on race because of jobs and opportunities are now being. I don't know if that can be classed as racism because you need to. Starlink, for example, Elon Musk came out rightly said Starlink is not allowed to operate in South Africa because he's black. Microsoft is operating in South Africa, and the owner, the person that owns Microsoft, is black. The person that owns Amazon is black. The person that owns Google is black. The person that owns Coca-Cola, or Coca-Cola is not in South Africa anymore. Hmm. But we do get Coca-Cola. So the agent of the person who owns Coca-Cola is black. Well, big companies. Let's talk about big companies. The owner of all the telecom giants that you can think of in the world, like Virgin. Virgin is owned by a black man, right? I mean, I'm talking about multinational companies that are Glencore is here, right? So Glencore is owned by a black man. I mean, which other company can we talk of? British American Tobacco. Philip Morris is here, and Philip Morris is owned by a black man. I mean, I just named you like what, five, six, seven conglomerates, should we call it, right? Yahoo is owned by a black man. All these companies are owned by black men because they're operating in South Africa. But Starlink, unfortunately, which is owned by a white man, is not allowed to operate. Now, I'm lost because if Microsoft's owner, who for the longest of times, I think since the 90s, he's been consistently the richest man in the world. If he is black enough to operate in South Africa, why is it that the now richest man in the world, who owns Starlink and Tesla, cannot operate in South Africa? Because of the color of his skin, right? So because he's white. Well, that's why. So it makes perfect sense. That is blatant racism. And I blame the South African government for that because, honestly speaking, that is reverse apartheid. I mean, they're denying a white man the right to operate a business in South Africa because he's not black. But the surprising thing is they're allowing Microsoft, Google, Philip Morris, British American Tobacco, Virgin Active, Virgin, you name it. There's EMI record labels, there's Sony Music, there's so many black owned multinational American companies that are operating in South Africa. Black owned. Now, obviously, those that know what I'm talking about will know. If you know, you know. If you don't know, you're going to comment in the comments and then you explain to me things that I already know. So if you don't know that Sony is owned by a black man, then you need to go and do your research. If you don't know that Amazon is owned by a black man, you need to go and do your research. If you don't know that Microsoft is owned by a black man, you need to go and do your research. All these companies are owned by black people. That is why they are operating in South Africa. But Starlink is owned by a white man. That's why it's not operating in South Africa. And Elon Musk went out and he said it. The only reason he's not allowed to operate in South Africa is because he's not black. There you go. That's what my research shows me. But the one thing that Elon Musk is not saying is that his company is refusing to adhere to the South African rules and laws pertaining to business ownership or business operating licenses in South Africa. Right? Not. You see, people like Elon Musk and his authoritarian way of wanting to operate in countries now is becoming a threat because, for those that don't know, Starlink is actually directly linked to the US military. So given that amount of power to an individual, giving that amount of power to an individual or to a company becomes a national security threat to any country. No country should be allowed to have a monopoly of intelligence or data collecting. And Starlink, as you can see, sure, Mr. Musk, he specializes in monopolies. so to speak. He likes to monopolize the tech industry that he's brilliant in. Very soon, you're going to see X is going to try to monopolize whatever it can monopolize. But yeah. Next, we get into the cons of reverse racism. You know how it goes. Holla. People, are there any cons to reverse racism? The answer is no. If you didn't see the cons of, wait, is there any cons to reverse apartheid? Let's put it that way. The answer is no. If you did not see the cons of apartheid then, and you lived during apartheid, and you gained during apartheid, and you benefited from apartheid, and you consistently voted the National Party into power, and you consistently voted keeping the National Party into power when there were opposing parties that you could have voted for, but instead you didn't. The majority of white South Africans voted for apartheid, and that is why for 40 years they got to keep the National Party in power and they got to keep control of the economy. Now that the roles are reversed, there's a lot of pushback, blowback, and I think it's unfair. So, honestly speaking, there is no cons to reverse apartheid. To reverse apartheid is if you so think that it's called reverse apartheid because it's happening to you now. There's no cons to it because for every action there must be an equal reaction, right? So, if you enjoyed during apartheid, it's only fair that you do not enjoy now during freedom or reverse apartheid, like they like to call it. Let me know what you think about this topic in the comment section below. Was I on the money or did I totally miss it with this one? Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. You know we family, right? Holla.